ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानार्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। श्रीमद् भागवतम कैंटो 7 चैप्टर 1 वर्स 28-29। किटपेशस्कृतारुद्धः कुड्यायां तम् अनुस्मरन् संरम्भभययोगेन विन्दते तत्स्वरूपताम्। एवं कृष्णे भगवती मायामनुज ईश्वरे वैरेण पूतपाप्मानस्तम् आपुरनुचिन्तया। A grass worm confined in a hole of a wall by a bee always thinks of the bee in fear and enmity, and later becomes a bee simply because of such remembrance. Similarly, if the conditioned souls somehow or the other think of Krishna, who is Sachidananda Vigraha, they will become free from their sins. Whether thinking of him as their worshipable Lord or an enemy, because of constantly thinking of him, they will regain their spiritual bodies. So powerful. Huh? So the example of given of a grass worm, which has been confined in a hole of a wall by a bee. So bee has confined a grass worm. Now the it's saying Bhagavatam is saying that the grass worm now always thinks of the bee in fear and enmity, and later becomes a bee simply because of such remembrance. So this constant absorption is required. Constant. If you're constantly thinking of Krishna, Krishna's service, then we will regain our spiritual bodies. Very, very simple, powerful. Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says, Vita Raga Bhai Krodha Manmaya Mam Upashritaha Bhavo Jnana Tapasa Puta Madbhavam Agataha. Madbhavam. Krishna's nature. Vita Raga Bhaya Krodha. Vita Raga Bhaya Krodha. Meaning being freed from Raga, attachment, Bhaya, fear, Krodha. Man Maya. Fully absorbed in me. Man Maya. Gnanamaya. Anandamaya. Like that. Man Maya. Mamupashritaha. Taking refuge in me, taking my shelter, taking shelter in me. Bahavo, many, many persons. Gnana tapasa, by this, purified by this knowledge of me, puta madbhavam agataha. They all attained a transcendental love for me. So the first thing here is to be free from attachment, fear, and anger. And this is material. So whatever material attachment, fear, and anger we have to be free from that. This is the first thing, right? And then only when we become free from attachment, fear, and anger, then we can go to the next stage of becoming manmaya. So when will we take refuge in Krishna? So when we are fully absorbed in Krishna and we take refuge in Krishna, then we will attain transcendental love for Krishna. Madbhavam means transcendental love. So important thing is this, because without this we cannot become absorbed. If we have attachment, fear, and anger, then we'll be absorbed materially. If we are freed from attachment, fear, and anger, then we can be fully absorbed in Krishna. There are two ways of constantly thinking of Krishna, as a devotee and as an enemy. A devotee, of course, by his knowledge and tapasya, gnana tapasa, becomes free from fear and anger and becomes a pure devotee. So now, for us to become free from fear and anger, we have to have knowledge and we have to do austerities. Hmm? Then we can become free from fear and anger. Similarly, an enemy, although thinking of Krishna inimically, thinks of him constantly and also becomes purified. This is confirmed elsewhere in Bhagavad Gita. The Lord says, Abhichet Sudara Acharo Bhajate Mamananyavak Sadureva Samantabhya Samyak Vyavasito Hi Saha. Even if one commits the most abominable actions, if he engages in devotional service, he is to be considered saintly because he is properly situated. Of course, this doesn't mean that namno balad yasya papa buddhi. Like we keep sinning on the strength of devotion or on the strength of holy name. Not like that, but unintentionally, somehow we end up doing some abominable action. It doesn't matter. Because in the next verse, Krishna says that because he is constantly engaged in my devotion, he will get over it, that sinful propensity. A devotee undoubtedly worships the Lord with rapt attention. Again, so qualification of a devotee. Prabhupada is saying a devotee means he should worship the Lord with rapt attention. Similarly, if an enemy, Suduracharaha, always thinks of Krishna, he also becomes a purified devotee. Example given here concerns the grass worm that becomes bee-like because of constantly thinking of the bee that forces it to enter a hole. By always thinking of the bee in fear, the grass worm starts to become a bee. This is a practical example. Lord Krishna appears within this material world for two purposes: paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkrutam. To protect the devotees and annihilate the demons, the sadhus and devotees certainly think of the Lord always. But dushkrutis, demons like Kamsa, Shishupala, also think of Krishna in terms of killing him. By thinking of Krishna, both the demons and devotees attain liberation from the clutches of material Maya. Hmm. So, very, very powerful purport. This verse uses the word Maya Manuje. When Krishna, Supreme Person of Godhead, appears in his original spiritual potency, Sambhavami Atma Maya, he is not forced to accept a form made by material nature. Therefore, the Lord is addressed as Ishvara, controller of Maya. He is not controlled by Maya. When a demon continuously thinks of Krishna because of enmity toward him, he is certainly freed from the sinful reactions of his life. To think of Krishna in any way, in terms of his name, form, qualities, paraphernalia, or anything pertaining to him, is beneficial for everyone. Srinmatam Swakata Krishna Punyashravana Kirtana. Thinking of Krishna, hearing the holy name of Krishna, or hearing the pastimes of Krishna will make one pure. And then he will become a devotee, means pure devotee. Our Krishna consciousness movement is therefore trying to introduce the system of somehow or other letting everyone hear the holy name of Krishna and take Krishna's prasad. So, and of course, also for those who become slightly more purified, then they will also develop a desire to hear about Krishna. Till then, it's just kirtan and prasada. Thus, one will gradually become a devotee and his life will be successful. So many important points. So, first thing is somehow or other we have to develop constant absorption in Krishna, constantly thinking of Krishna. Now, what prevents us from constantly thinking of Krishna is this raga, bhaya, krodha towards this material world. Our attachment, fear, and anger, which are all due to our material attachment. So, first we have to become free from that. Mhm. And then we can become fully absorbed in Krishna. How do we become free from material attachment, fear, and anger? Gnana tapasa, by knowledge, and also by tapasya. Tapasya is for us simple. Just chanting Hare Krishna itself is the biggest tapasya. Offenseless chanting is good enough, more than good enough. And of course, then Ekadashi, and then, not eating non-prasadam, not eating Jain food, uh, not in a, getting involved in some mundane entertainment. All this is tapasya for people in Kali Yuga. So by doing that, one becomes pure and one becomes free from fear and anger and attachment. And he becomes a pure devotee. That's all. Again, this requires repeated hearing. Some people, some devotees, they speak, but they don't follow. That's not good. We speak like we are some, Paramahamsa, but then we are actually engaged in not such high class activities. That is not good. That is that is cheating, pretender. Mm. So that is why always preaching should be within our mm, realization, meaning we should only speak within those things which we are following. We should preach. Of course, sometimes we might also preach things which we are not able to follow, but also say that, okay, I'm also not able to follow, but this is a good thing to follow. That's also okay. Mm. But we should practice what we preach. Otherwise, we should not preach. We should not preach to show off our knowledge. That's not the idea. Mm. So we should first try to practice, and then we should preach whatever we are practicing. Simple. Yare dekho tare kaho Krishna Upadesh means whatever I am practicing, I will share with others. Why? Because that practice would have brought about some transformation in me, and that transformation is always favorable, so that can be shared with others. Simple. Mm. And if we want to show off our knowledge, that is very, very mundane. Mm. First, which is the reason why we have to come to the platform of understanding or accepting that we are nothing. If we don't come to this platform, then we will show off our knowledge, but we are not going to make progress. Or some devotees do a lot of tapasya, but they don't practice, they don't do sadhana properly. This is also something funny, like following some vrata, this, that, and all that, but not doing their sadhana properly, not associating with the right devotees, not hearing, not reading. That tapasya is also useless. So both we have to have. We have to have knowledge, we have to do proper sadhana, we have to also do tapasya. Then automatically over a period of time, it doesn't happen overnight, and we should not expect it also, because from like multiple lifetimes we have been contaminated. But if we sincerely try, go on trying, then it will happen. That's not a See, always we have to understand bhakti is powerful. We are not powerful. Bhakti is powerful, so by the power of bhakti, it will purify us. By the power of the holy name, we will be purified. And see again, Prabhupada is again saying, devotee undoubtedly worships the Lord with rapt attention. So this attention is very, very important. We are engaging in activities of devotion, but our attention is elsewhere. Inattentive, inattentive chanting, inattentive hearing. mm, That is not going to help us. Mm. Mm. Yeah, to think of Krishna in any way is beneficial. Okay. So the most important process is chanting. And again, the first stage of chanting, I can say, is to make sure that we chant very, very clearly, and also hear, try to hear. And then that perfection in that chanting, in that uh, kirtanam and shravanam, in that taking the names of Krishna and hearing his names, will then take us to higher levels of chanting, where mm, form, qualities, etc., will get revealed. So it requires attention, constant attention. And again, this constant attention today is broken um, by material thoughts. So it won't be ahituki, apratihata. Apratihata means constant, without any break. That apratihata, if we want apratihata, then we have to have, like I keep saying, some absorption. We have to be absorbed in something for Krishna. And that will, course of time, remove all the contamination in our heart. कामात् द्वेषात् भयात् स्नेहात् यथा भक्तेश्वरे मनः आवेश तद्दघं हित्वा बहवस्तद्गतिं गताः. Now he says, whatever type of absorption, many persons have attained liberation simply by thinking of Krishna with great attention and giving up sinful activities. Very important. Giving up sinful activities. And these sinful activities will go automatically if we are thinking of Krishna with great attention, because Krishna is perfectly pure. So we'll also become pure by his association. Then automatically sinful activities will go. But sometimes this might take some time because of our previous conditioning, etc. But the more intense our sadhana is, the more easy we'll be able to give up our sinful activities. And sinful activities, like, also see this raga bhaya krodha. And this is actually animalistic. And because this fear and anger are actually animalistic propensities. And that happens normally because we don't have faith in Krishna, because of our false ego. So we have to give up all that. Then anger is not good. It is one of the sin. To become angry is sinful. It's called violence or cruelty. So we have to give that up also. And we have to give up gross sinful activities anyway. We have to give up. But all this can happen only by thinking of Krishna with great attention. If we are thinking about material things with great attention, then what will happen? Then kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya, they will remain. We might be doing devotion, but we won't become pure. We won't become clean. But if anything in connection with Krishna, even if it is due to lusty desires, inimical feelings, fear, affection, or devotional service, is great. Is still okay. So Narada Muni is saying, I shall now explain how one receives Krishna's mercy simply by concentrating one's mind upon him. Again, by lusty desires, inimical feelings, fear, affection, or devotional service. There are 5 ways to concentrate one's mind upon Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam. विक्रीडितं व्रजवधूभिरिदं च विष्णोः श्रद्धान्वितोऽनुशृणु शृणुयाद् अथ वर्णयेद्यः भक्तिं परां भगवती प्रतिलभ्य कामं हृद्रोगमास्वपहि अपहिनोत्यचिरेण धीरः. If a bona fide listener, not bona fide listener means what? One who is actually wanting to become pure and hear about Krishna and glorify Krishna. If such a person hears of Krishna's pastimes with the gopis, which seem to be lusty affairs, the lusty desires in his heart, which constitute the heart disease, hridroga. Here it is said, hridrogam will be vanquished and he will become a most exalted devotee of the Lord. But he has to be a bona fide listener. If one who hears the gopis' lusty behavior with Krishna becomes free from lusty desires, certainly the gopis who approach Krishna became free from all such desires. Okay, so this is a very deep topic. Hmm. So gopis' affairs with Krishna, they seem to be lusty affairs. Now we might not really understand that they are lusty affairs. Just okay, some little bit we might feel. Okay, Krishna is calling all these girls in the middle of the night, like that. But actually, to actually hear about the pastimes of Krishna, Radha, Krishna, and gopis requires a very pure heart, because they actually will bewilder us. They are absolutely like this, and we cannot imagine, we cannot, like, and it's not, anyway, it's not a topic for discussion. But we should understand that it actually They are, for us, it will absolutely look like lusty affairs. Mm. Krishna seems to be a lusty person. So, which is why, Janma Karma Cha Me Divyam, most people can't understand Krishna. Even devotees can't understand Krishna. Many a times. Especially this aspect of Krishna's relationship with Radha and gopis, which is the reason why some sampradayas don't talk about Radha at all. So they keep Radha and gopis away because it's very, very difficult to understand and explain their dealings. We get some sense of it from Chaitanya Charitamrita, but actually our acharyas describe it in great detail in other shastras, other books. So they seem to be lusty affairs, but because they are not actually lusty, even though they seem to be lusty, a bona fide listener's heart will get cleansed. Of course, he also has to hear from a bona fide speaker who is also on the platform of clear understanding of what these pastimes are. And who can hear all this? If suppose say we hear the about the lusty affairs of Krishna and the gopis, and we feel lust, then we have to be careful. Maybe it's still time we have to be purified because it is an act, it is something that is happening between Krishna and his topmost devotees. And if we feel any kind of lusty attraction towards it, then which means that we are at a very, very contaminated state, which is the reason why these things should not be discussed. Hmm. Mm. Sometimes I see that, Radha Ashtami, etc., devotees talk about some intimate pastimes, about which might look like, which might even seem very hilarious, entertaining, but that's not supposed to be discussed because that requires a certain level of mindset and purity. Okay, so which is why yesterday, like I was saying, it's a long way. It's a long way. Unless we are out of material contamination, we can't really enter into these pastimes. But still, this verse in Bhagavatam is saying, if somehow if he is bona fide, which means that he is actually wanting to hear to purify himself, and if both the listener and the speaker are bona fide, then the Rudroga will be vanquished. This Rudroga is this male-female attraction of this material world. This is the Rudroga. Shackles, Prabhupada says shackles. Hmm. Hmm. And Prabhupada is also explaining, right? If one hears the gopis' lusty behavior with Krishna, one becomes free from lusty desires. So obviously, gopis don't have any lusty desires because they are in touch with Krishna, and Krishna is the perfect pure. Whatever Krishna does is, perfectly pure. We know of one pastime where Krishna tells all the gopis they wanted to cross the Yamuna, and they say, just tell Yamuna that Krishna is a perfect brahmachari. They laugh, saying, "What kind of a brahmachari are you?" But then when they actually go and say that, Yamuna gives way. So we can't understand Krishna. A simple way of also understanding Krishna is that he just wants to do anything for the pleasure of his devotees. And what do the devotees want? Pleasure of Krishna. So there we get confused. Who is doing this for whom? Becomes a big question. That only Krishna knows. So sometimes it becomes difficult to understand. Similarly, Shishupala and others who were very much envious of Krishna and who constantly thought of Krishna became free from envy. So even if you have lust, you will become free from lust. If you have envy, you will become free from envy. Nanda Maharaj and Mother Yashoda were fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness because of affection. So gopis by lusty desires, Shishupala by envy, Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda by affection, also the Pandavas. When the mind is somehow or other fully absorbed in Krishna, the material part is very soon vanquished. And the spiritual part, attraction to Krishna, becomes manifest. Somehow or other fully, but the point here is being fully absorbed. This indirectly confirms that if one thinks of Krishna enviously, simply because of thinking of Krishna, he becomes free from all sinful reactions and thus becomes a pure devotee. Hmm. So powerful absorption, which is why Prabhupada gave Krishna book and is asked us to read Krishna book every day. Or like I said, those who finished 9 cantos and have read 10 canto can read 10 canto on a continuous basis. They don't have to again start from the beginning. Of course, that starting from beginning and reading will go on, but they can also read the 10th canto continuously. There's no harm in that, or it's not banned. गोप्य कामात् भयात् कंसो द्वेषात् चैद्यादयो नृपाः संबंधात् वृष्णयः स्नेहाद् यूयं भक्त्या vayam vibho. So now he's giving exact examples, Narada Muni. Gopis by their lusty desires, Kamsa by his fear, Shishupala and other kings by envy, the Yadus by their familial relationship, and you Pandavas by your great affection. So Sambandhat, Snehat, and general devotees. Narada Muni is saying, we general devotees by our bhaktya, devotional service. So, bhaktya, sneha is also bhakti only at a higher level. But generally, to differentiate between Vaidhi bhakti and then raga bhakti. So, Narada Muni is saying, by our devotional service, uh, everyone has obtained the mercy of Krishna. Mm. Different persons achieve different types of mukti, sayudhya, salokya, sarupya, samipya, sasti, according to their own intense desire, which is called bhava. Thus, it is described here that the gopis, by their lusty desires, which were based upon their intense love for Krishna. This intense love for Krishna was perfectly pure, but to lusty eyes, it looks lusty. But it is perfectly pure. By that intense love, they became the most beloved devotees of the Lord. Now, you might be wondering, how can gopis become most beloved devotees? They are always the most beloved devotees. Yeah, these are the Nitya Siddha gopis. Then there are the Nitya Baddha gopis who by sadhana, they become sadhana Siddha. By sadhana, they become Siddha. So they have lusty desires. So this is how most devotees who enter into Madhurya Rasa, they go through this process where they take birth in Bhauma Vrindavan, and whatever little contamination is left is cleared. So they become pure, ready to go to Goloka. Although the gopis at Vrindavan express their lusty desires in relationship with a paramour Parakiya Rasa, they actually had no lusty desires. This is significant of spiritual advancement. This is significant of spiritual advancement, meaning anybody who has advanced spiritually, they will not have lusty desires. Ordinary sadhakas only, if they are progress advanced spiritually, then they will not have lusty desires. What to speak of their constant associates, gopis were constant associates of Krishna. They can't have lusty desires. Their desires appeared lusty, but actually they were not lusty desires of the material world. Chaitanya Charitamrita compares the desires of spiritual and material world to gold and iron. Both gold and iron are metal, but there's a vast difference in their value. The lusty desires of the gopis for Krishna are compared to gold, and material lusty desires are compared to iron. Kamsa and other enemies of Krishna merged into existence of Brahman. But why should Krishna's friends and devotees have the same position? So Kamsa and other enemies, they merged into Brahman. Now what about Krishna's friends and devotees? Krishna's devotees attain the association of the Lord as his constant companions, either in Vrindavan or Vaikuntha planets. Similarly, although Narada Muni wanders in the three worlds, he has exalted devotion for Narayana. The Vrishnis and Yadus and the father and mother of Krishna and Vrindavan all have familial relationships, Vatsalya. Krishna's foster father and mother in Vrindavan, however, are more exalted than Vasudeva and Devaki. So they have Sneha, then somebody has Sambandha. So this is familiar relationship, Sambandha. Then there is Sneha. Then there is Bhaktya. Then there is by Kama and Bhaya and envy. What is envy here? Dveshat. Kamat, Bhayat, Dveshat, Sambandhat, Snehat, Bhaktya. All these ways one can obtain the mercy of Krishna. Okay, I'll finish this. Katamopi na venaha syat panchanaam purusham prati tasmat kenapi upayena. Prabhupada translates some or other. Mana Krishne niveshayet. This is the most important thing. Tasmat kenapi upayena mana Krishna niveshayet. Somehow or other, you fix your mind in Krishna. Somehow or other, one must consider the form of Krishna very seriously. Then, by one of the 5 different processes mentioned above, one can return home back to Godhead. Atheists like King Vena, however, being unable to think of Krishna's form in any of these 5 ways, cannot attain salvation. Therefore, one must somehow think of Krishna, whether in a friendly way or inimically. Impersonalists and atheists always try to circumvent the form of Krishna. Great politicians and philosophers of the modern age even try to banish Krishna from Bhagavad Gita. Consequently, for them, there is no salvation. That is why Prabhupada is translated here as consider the form of Krishna very seriously. Because all these people considered the form of Krishna seriously. They didn't take it as Maya. So, but for those who take Krishna's form as Maya, or philosophers who try to banish Krishna from Bhagavad Gita, for them there is no salvation. But Krishna's enemies think, here is Krishna, my enemy, I have to kill him. They think of Krishna in his actual form and thus they attain salvation. So even if the enemy is, they have to think of Krishna in his actual form. Devotees, therefore, who constantly think of Krishna's form are certainly liberated. The only business of the Mayavadi atheist is to make Krishna formless, and consequently, because of the severe offense at the lotus feet of Krishna, they cannot expect salvation. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says in this connection, Tena Shishupaladi Bhinna Pratikula Bhavam Didishur Yena Iva Narakam Yayati Iti Bhavaha. Except for Shishupala, those who go against the regulative principles cannot attain salvation and are surely destined for hellish life. The regulative principle is that one must always think of Krishna whether as a friend or enemy. But again, to clarify it, Prabhupada is saying one must consider the form of Krishna very seriously. Because the Mayavadis don't consider the form of Krishna very seriously, they cannot get liberation. Anybody else, at least they are not inimical, right? Like, so for example, simple impersonalists who just are limited to the stage of thinking of Krishna as Brahman. By the association of devotees, by little tinge of bhakti, they can achieve liberation. Tinge of bhakti meaning they achieve, they accept Krishna's form. They don't banish Krishna. They don't call it Maya. They can achieve salvation. But so anybody who considers the form of Krishna seriously, they can, even if their absorption is unfavorable, they can still achieve Krishna. This is the power. And Krishna is so beautiful, right? So he gives us the facility or he gives us a reason to be absorbed in him. So nice. Okay. Okay, so I will stop here because now he'll start the description of the pastime. Okay, so this is the one section of this chapter concluded. Yes. Yeah, Prabhu.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
This gopis, they were not actually thinking Krishna about lusty desires, right? They were actually trying to satisfy Krishna's senses, right? Or was it the way Prabhupada explained?
Whatever Prabhupada explained. How can it be any other way? Whatever Prabhupada explained is correct. Why do we have to question? But we can't understand it. That's the point I'm making. What the gopis do, why they do, is all we see by the color of material contamination. It's like somebody wearing a yellow glass sees the whole world yellow. So somebody who is in material lust, who has material lust, will see Krishna's pastimes as lusty. Okay, so don't think too much about this. Okay, so for those of us who have not got exposed to Krishna and Gopi's pastimes, we will get exposed when the time comes. So we don't have to worry. But always remember that Krishna is the Supreme Lord. He is the epitome of Dharma. He doesn't do anything which is wrong nor is sinful. We should always enter into Krishna's pastimes with this understanding of Krishna, which is the reason why Krishna talks about his opulence. Now, once we are firmly fixed in this understanding of Krishna, then slowly, steadily, Krishna will expose us to his pastimes, you know, and then we can digest it. We can understand it properly in the right perspective. Which is why it's very easy to just remain dasya. Of course, all other higher platforms are also foundationed on dasya, but we cannot, slightly difficult to understand. Now, see, now think of, for example, Sakya, right? Now, Sakya, if suppose they given an opportunity, will you go and sit on Krishna's shoulders? No, because you can't imagine. You can't imagine. I mean, how can I go and sit on Krishna's shoulders? How can I fight with Krishna? How can I argue with Krishna? How can I call him names? But this is the pastime between the Gopas and Krishna. No, it's inconceivable. Similarly, as we keep going higher and higher, the difficulty of understanding goes on increasing. Vatsalya, we might become like, oh, what is this? How Yashoda can bind Krishna, Supreme Lord? But she can bind. Oh, Krishna is telling lie. Krishna is lying to Mother Yashoda. How can Krishna lie? And we can't understand. Why is Krishna stealing? We can't understand. Similarly, next level, his dealings with Radha and Gopis is not understandable. Which is one of the reasons why Srila Jiva Goswami got, as in his Gopala Champu, he got Radha and Krishna married. Uh, because Parakiya is not understandable. Parakiya is what? Illicit relation. But we can't understand this because we are in mundane, contaminated state. We don't discuss this again. But Prabhupada, whatever Prabhupada is saying is correct. There's, see, to understand the super powerful and their activities, we have to come to their level. We have to understand their position. We have to accept their position. We have to have a clear understanding of philosophy. Only then we can enter into higher rasas. It's not easy. It's not easy. But for us to enter there, first we have to give up material rasa. If we are still stuck up with material rasa, especially material attraction towards the opposite gender, we are far from Madhurya Rasa. We are far from Madhurya Rasa. But still, Krishna is so merciful. If we constantly engage in his service, in thinking about him, in chanting, in doing services for him, he will purify us. But please understand that the goal of our sampradaya is Madhurya. So we are not settling for lower levels of devotion. So now you can appreciate why Acharyas talk about intense devotion. Because otherwise, we might think about Radha and Krishna and everything happening there as just mundane. Okay, I'm also engaged in these kind of things. They are also engaged. What is this? So it requires a purity of heart. We have to be above material lust. Only then we can even think of understanding. Which is why, first I tell you practically what I used to do. I mean, first 2, 3 times when I came across these things, I used to just skip those chapters. Or I used to just like, yeah, literally I skipped. chapters. I've skipped verses. I've skipped things where I know that I'm not at that platform. When I read that and suddenly I feel some agitation in my heart, I used to skip those sections. But I knew, just even by skipping through those, I knew what is involved. Then slowly, steadily, Krishna somehow gave, a little bit mercy to understand these things. It takes time. Okay, but foundation is Tivra Bhakti. Don't forget this. And that's why I keep saying, if we remain materially attached, we can't progress to higher stages of bhakti. We are materially attached to, you know, body and things connected to this body, clothes and wealth and this and that and all that. We can't think of going to higher stages. The only thing we need to do in this whole process is give up that attachment, low class attachment. So somehow we have to develop some higher taste. Low class attachment and raga, bhaya, krodha. Attachment, fear, anger has to go. Material attachment, material fear, material anger. The attachment is lust, etc., etc., all forms. Vita, raga, bhaya, krodha. Manmaya, mam, upashritaha. Manmaya. In Kannada, we say like Anandamaya in Sanskrit also. So Maya is like full, like overflowing. Manmaya, mind has to become overflowing with Krishna. That can happen only when we stop overflowing our mind with material things, which is the reason again I come back to Varnashrama, which is the reason Vanaprastha is important. Hmm. Okay, so I'll stop here because I don't want to speak more about, yeah,
Yeah.
what is
Priji, so basically, in order to sometimes in preaching also these questions come, right? So there are some pastimes where gopis were protested by their husbands that no, you can't go, and they were locked, and then they left their bodies and their soul went, right?
no,
So
no, 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 no. So don't discuss externally about these pastimes at all.
hmm,
Okay, if somebody says, we can simply say humbly saying that I'm not at that level to discuss this. Prabhu is very, very deep philosophy. It doesn't work that way. Nobody died. How can somebody die in the presence of Krishna? It's so inauspicious. How can a devotee die thinking about Krishna like that? So these are all we have to come to this state. Then we have to understand Prabhupada's, the purports by Prabhupada's disciples. Then we have to go to previous acharyas, and there's so much of understanding involved. Better not discuss these things. If somebody just says, you say, okay, I'm not qualified, and just leave it. First of all, they have to be qualified. Like Prabhupada used to be very, very upset when people used to ask such questions without qualification. He used to say, are you qualified first? Then if somebody says, I'm qualified, Prabhupada once said, I am not qualified. When somebody came and said, I want to hear, there were some donors or something, they came and said, we want to hear about Krishna and Radha. Said, Prabhupada directly said, I don't know, maybe you are qualified, but I'm not qualified to speak about them. It's safer, just don't get into any discussion on this. Again, just it's better to just say, yeah, I'm not qualified.
hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, bro.
Okay.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Just a doubt. Prabhu, like, and it's been so clearly said now, if you just, you have to say, be form of the Lord is very important. The
Yes.
Mayavadis,
Yes.
they have no form, so they are Mayavadis, right?
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
there is a sector of people, Prabhu, who teach, they make people spiritual. Like, there is a sector of the Marwadi group, which,
Mm-hmm.
most of the cream of the Marwadi ladies are into it. And once
Mm-hmm.
or twice, we even approached them to know how they are preaching. Now,
Mm-hmm.
my daughter-in-law, younger daughter-in-law, is into it. They get up in the morning. They like they follow the sadhana very strictly. They are doing chanting. They are preaching. Ramcharitra Manas karte hain. Sab karte hain. Prabhu Hanuman. They do for, but they do not say Krishna is the supreme. What happens with these sort of people?
No, but
We,
what do
I,
they say
we,
about Krishna? What do
now
they
they
tell
say,
about?
they don't say anything.
They
They
don't say
prefer
anything.
Krishna, my Krishna Bhagwan, Ram
Then
Bhagwan.
it's fine.
That
Then it's
yeah,
fine.
but
Then it's fine.
but
They're not.
okay, deity also they worship like okay, but not. And for with the Ram Krishna is the same. And
That is fine.
and the Bhagavad Gita they preach like it's more that man mein, it's not like how we say. Okay, they also say you need a guru, and they get up in the morning. They get up in the morning. They
Yeah,
chant.
yeah.
All that is there, but
So the
they
key,
refuse. They
the
refuse to say Krishna is the supreme.
no, that's okay. Krishna and Ram are same, no?
No, even they won't. If Ram के लिए भी like बोलते हैं भगवान है.
हाँ
They
भगवान
don't
है ना.
say.
तो
But
व्हाट इज
supreme
भगवान?
में नहीं बोलते. हाँ, supreme नहीं
नहीं
बोलते.
नहीं, भगवान का मतलब क्या है?
नहीं
सुप्रीम ही है
ठीक है,
ना.
वो तो अपने को पता है ना. जब भगवान
नहीं नहीं,
वाचब
व्हाट
वो
व्हेन दे
सबके
से भगवान, व्हाट डज इट मीन फॉर देम? व्हाट डज
for
भगवान
them
मीन?
everything देवी देवता सब भगवान. That
Ah,
chocho
okay.
comes. That
Okay, so
chocho.
that's okay. See, they're not, as long as they don't consider Krishna Maya.
No, they
They,
don't.
as long as they don't consider Maya, they are safe. They are at a very lower stage, but they will make progress. They won't achieve perfection in this life till they come in touch with a devotee and understand the tattva
They
clearly.
chant Mahamantra only. They chant the
Ah,
Mahamantra
that's
only.
fine. That's fine. See, Mahamantra, the most important thing we should understand about Mahamantra is the faith in Krishna and Krishna's name.
Yeah.
Otherwise, those syllables will not have any
Yeah.
effect.
Yeah.
Right? Haridas Thakur has very, very clearly discussed this in Harinam Chintamani. Okay. So they are chanting the name, which is very, very good. Okay. So they will come. They will make progress in their spiritual journey, but they won't achieve perfection. Very, very simple.
But Prabhu, like so many classes they take, like I mean, like my, like, I see her 5 o'clock to, like they're really the effect.
It's good. It's good,
Yeah.
Mataji. They are, they are on a lower platform, but they are making progress. They will come. Right? It's good. It's good tapasya, gnana, right? But they need clear knowledge, right? They're in some mixed knowledge right now. But if they are sincere, Krishna will bring them to devotee. They're sincere. Not this life, maybe, but in subsequent lives, based on their
Oh,
simplicity.
even I we can't.
No, no, but our position is very different. See, our
Yes.
position is simply Hridaya Daurbalyam. We don't have any other problem. See, in ISKCON, we have to understand very, very clearly, right? Out of anarthas, our major problem is just Hridaya Daurbalyam, just weakness of heart, nothing else. We have clear knowledge, we have clear sadhana, we have perfect path, we have perfect gurus, we have perfect acharyas. We just have some little weakness of heart. And if we can tackle this weakness of heart through constant hearing, constant good association, that will go. It's not like a big deal at all. But just imagine all these people are far from the perfect process. They don't even know Krishna, right? But they are not offensive. So it's good for them. They will slowly, steadily come.
Prabhu, like they follow the four regulative principles,
No, all
but
that
they're
is
not strict.
sattva, sattva. There,
But
it's
they're
all
not strict
sattva,
with the diet.
Mataji.
They're not
It's
strict with
all,
the diet and
that
all
is why
that.
I'm saying they are doing certain things
Okay.
which can be considered as favorable.
Yeah, okay, Prabhu.
Okay, bhakti is independent, but still Shastra says saying that, see, if some people are being more sattvic in their life,
Sattvic.
that
Yes, Prabhu.
much to the extent they are sattvic, they will eventually come to Krishna.
Hanji, Prabhuji.
It's progress. It's progress. See, you should look at them as a much better class of people than definitely karmis, right? It's like a new class of people who are semi karmis, right? But because they are doing a lot of, they are not just going to temple, right? As in they're doing some sadhana, they're going to get more benefited than ordinary, karmis going to temple for just material benefits, right? Uh, so they are doing some sadhana, they will get more, they'll get benefited from that. But it's not the perfect process, that's clear.
Acha, Prabhu, sorry. Like when you're reading the 10th chapter, Prabhu, like the gopis and okay, like certain things you don't put your head into it. You just read, like you say, you read it, you take it, and you go. But when Kubja, when Krishna goes to Mathura and he goes back to Kubja telling her that I'll come. The scenes, the words, the Prabhupada has decided, and her
Yeah,
lusty
yeah,
desire,
yeah.
everything is so vividly explained, Prabhu.
Yes,
It's
yes,
hard to read. But
yes,
then,
yes.
like,
That is why we have, yeah.
then my Prabhu will say she won't take my words. Prabhu, like even Ramchandra, like see when she showed lusty desires, Krishna came, though she was a prostitute. Krishna came, fulfilled her lusty desires, Like even they said that the
No, he
bed,
didn't
everything is
fulfill.
described. The
He
same with
didn't fulfill.
Surpan Khan. Yeah, he did. And Surpan,
Hmm.
when same thing with Surpan Khan, apart from Ram. Ram was one okay, but Pati one with this thing.
Yeah.
Surpan Khan came, that could have been treated a little more like, but the consequences there were very different. Very,
Yeah.
very different. The
Yeah.
whole Ramayana happened because of him.
See, we should understand that Rama has a certain mode in which he has come,
Yeah.
and Krishna now takes everybody else who couldn't, like how many people from Rama Lila came to
Yes, all the rishis
become
and all that.
gopis.
Yes,
Not
Prabhu, I
just that,
understand.
there are people in Mithila, Ayodhya, rishis. I mean, they're like literally anybody and everybody who saw Rama.
Rama. Yes,
He
Prabhu.
was so attractive that they got
Yeah.
attracted towards him. But
Yes,
then,
Prabhu.
because he was Ekapatni Vrata, they eventually ended up with, they had to come to Krishna. Now,
No,
see Krishna's position. Krishna is willing to accept everybody.
Anji.
Okay, now those who couldn't fit into Rama's pastime, they fit into Krishna's pastime. It is unlimited. Anyway, this is I don't want to discuss this, because see, we can discuss separately, Mantaji. There are also
Yes,
devotees who
okay,
are
yes,
like,
Prabhu. Okay,
yeah,
whenever
okay,
when you have the time, if you could give me a
yeah,
call, I'll be obliged.
yeah,
Sure.
okay,
Okay, my Prabhu says like the argument goes on too long, so I suppose we
yeah,
end
yeah.
up
No, not,
fighting.
it's not about argument. Actually, it's
No,
tattva. We have
we
to
end up
understand.
fighting, Prabhu. Like yeah.
No,
So
but
it's better I
Acharya has
do.
very clearly explained this tattva, so we don't have to fight over it. You just have to understand and accept whatever Acharya
No,
has said.
no, that of course,
It's not
Prabhu.
it's not our thought versus your thought or somebody else's thought, right? For us to debate
That's
and
absolutely
discuss. Yeah,
no.
yeah.
No, Prabhu, what you don't
Okay.
understand, at least I take it like this. If I don't understand something, it's there, it's right. So just leave it to that.
Yeah, yeah.
No,
Till
you just
we
accept it.
become
That's all.
pure,
Yes,
we
absolutely, Prabhu.
become
Because we're
pure,
not
we become
qualified.
qualified. We will
Yeah,
come
we
to
are
that.
not qualified.
We will come
I'm
to
not
understand.
qualified. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare
Okay,
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay, Vamshi Shashank Prabhu, if it is urgent, if it is very, very relevant, please ask, because I need to run. Okay, what is the question? Then I'll say whether I'll answer now or later. Sorry, I have to go somewhere.
Oh, okay. Then no issues, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Then we can take it later, Prabhu. It was related to Ahaituki Apratiyata. We can take it
Okay,
later.
okay, that's fine. Okay, yeah, Vamshi Prabhu.
We can take it later, bro. No problem.
Okay, okay,
I'll
you
just
can
leave
call
a
me
voice note.
and
Sure.
we can discuss sometime, because I have to be somewhere at 10 o'clock. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, thank you all for
Thank
joining.
you.
Okay, some of these topics, like, I'm intently not getting into details. There are a lot of details, but ideally my desire is that, all of you make progress to such an extent that, you can also enter into these topics sooner. But it requires, just intense devotion is key. Surrender is the key. If we are able to do this, we can possibly enter into these topics. Okay, thank you so much. श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, जगत गुरु शिल प्रभुपाद की जय, वांछा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यो च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव की जय। हरे कृष्णा।
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Prabhu.
Krishna,
Thank
Prabhu.
you.